So as night falls on Akiton and the people lay down for their much-needed rest after what has been a crazy couple of days, Pahrra's eyes blink back awake. Are they still in cube form as they sleep?
Yeah, they sleep in cube form.
So there's just these two neon eyes that blink awake on this cube. So now seems like it might be an opportune time to slip away since goodbyes have already been said. So you stand up, take a few lingering looks at everyone. Soul crashed on the chair, one leg up, in a position that you'd assume a cat would be in. Pons is in one of the chambers recuperating from the decision they made. You see that Narians is looking over the two stricken Yosoki. You go to head towards the door, and they seem to notice you. It seems that you are about to be on your way. If I might, for just a moment, have some of your time.
Pahrra turns, and only the upper half turns.
Like a tank turret.
Yeah, they did tank around 5 minutes. You may. I would rather not speak in here, though. I do not want the others to awaken before I leave. Would you step outside?
Yes, of course. Whatever would be more comfortable. Narians floats silently behind you. I have only been awake for... And they look down at a tiny little arm that does not have a watch on it. A very short amount of time, and I only have been briefly updated on the things that have happened. But suffice to say that you and they kind of gesture to all of you are a very interesting creature, and the gentleman in the business suit that I have had some dealings with, apparently, that I don't terribly remember. They seem to imply that you are connected to a greater universe or universes. So my question is it wise for you to depart on your own when these forces may seek to obtain you for themselves?
There's a long pause, as Pahrras want to do. And then there's a moment where they straighten up, as they had done before, to irony, in a way that indicates that they don't feel they need to seem smaller around this person. You are Pons' original, correct?
Yes, Pons is very technically correct in that respect. He is a clone, and I am the progenitor of the DNA which formed them, yes.
Do you begrudge Pons for experiencing the world for himself, rather than only through what you might have given him, despite the danger that he has faced?
Perhaps only in the way that a parent begrudges a child for making incredibly stupid choices, and you, see them mentally look over at Pons. But no. However, that does beg the question of if this person in which you are related to, do they have intentions of using you? I myself am glad that Pons went out, found friends and adventures, but I hold no ill will against them, nor do I desire them for a purpose. Can you say the same?
I cannot, but I also cannot stay here and fight this fight if I am not a part of this world. I care for the crew. And as they gesture to the door, they suddenly look back. We did not need to go outside, did we? This is telepathy.
Yes, but if it makes you more comfortable, it's fine.
I will remember this. Still, I would see the world the way my crew sees. I took great joy in seeing Whisker's family for the short time they were with us. I would take great joy in the rest of this world. I am not sure that I will be able to assist my crew to the best of my ability without this. I have thought about it and I will be careful. Your concern is noted, however.
Narians gives a mental nod. Well, in that case, perhaps you might consider taking one with you who also has had very little experience outside the confines of a ship or this laboratory.
I think you might be a little frail for this journey.
they do the mental equivalent of laughing, and you like feel it reverberate in your head. My adventuring days are unfortunately most likely behind me, but no, I was referring to a small lizard who had been speaking with me using mainly Draconic. They don't seem to have figured out how to vocalize it, so we've been communicating mentally. They look over, and with a cue from Narian's mind, the door opens as a small, but not as small as it used to be, dragon is standing in the doorway.
Oh, Cargo, of course. Come here. And they stretch their arms out, all the way out to like pet Cargo, and then I draw them back towards him. Of course I will take Cargo with me. They shrink back down again to their normal size, petting Cargo, now holding them in their arms. Are you sure? Are you sure? And they hold Cargo up, like, in that way that people who don't know how to hold cats up properly hold up Cargo.
Cargo usually is always trying to, like, bite an arm when someone picks him up, but in this case, they're sitting fairly passively and looking at you with pretty determined eyes. They just go... And Narian says, "It seems that they associate you as a parental figure, and that they would care to go out and help keep you safe from the dangers of the larger universe while experiencing it a bit themselves."
Of course I accept. Their shoulder expands enough to give Cargo like a seating area, which gives them one arm that's slightly too far out, but gives Cargo a comfortable space there.
And Cargo sits down on it and then puts two paws up on top of your head, just like one of those carrying cats that people walk around with.
Yep, excellent. Pahra's eyes, multiple eyes glitter in the only way you can tell Pahra's laughing that doesn't make your head hurt. I will take good care of them, as I am sure they will me. Isn't that right? They pet Cargo. Oh shit, this is too adorable.
Well, that makes me feel more secure in the odds of this expedition. I hope that the two of you find the adventures that you're looking for out in the stars, as I had once found mine.
I appreciate this talk. You are I see where Pons gets his, It was nice meeting you.
They look at you like a grandparent who doesn't quite understand what you're saying, but then just kind of give you the, "Yeah, of course, honey," nod.
Thanks, Grandpa. This was lit. No, he doesn't say that.
Lit, yes, I will research what that is. So they give you a little nod, and then they head back into the laboratory as the door quietly closes behind them.
I think Pahra stands looking through the door as it closes, just at the crew snoozing. And then when it closes, well, it's a closed door. And they turn and walk out the hall and out the building with Cargo.
Over the next few days, things on the planet change dramatically. First is that a strangely large amount of the populace found that they could suddenly use this ability, which would encase them in a bubble that protects them from the environment. There's essentially this wild joy in the streets that people who could not find filters now don't have to look for them, that people who are dying because they were inhaling this poisoned sand are now protected. Add on top of that this revolution that just took place, and while the people don't know what all transpired at the top of the tower, they know the contemplatives have gone and that the world is changing. This, however, changes when announcements begin to come out, many of them from Jasper himself, talking about the state of the planet and how essentially the contemplatives have abandoned this planet to save themselves. There begins a organization of trying to take people from this planet. It is a horribly slow process because many of these ships had been sabotaged by Infernex who are leaving, and most likely doing it just despite probably your group. So during that time, you find that Cargo has gained an appetite for large metal objects, probably after eating the second-hand ship. There's a fair abundance of that on this planet, and as they use this gravity breath and consume more junk from the planet, they begin to get slowly bigger and bigger through your travels.
I like to imagine there's like moments where Pahrra and Cargo are sitting like just against like some kind of a wreck. Pahrra's absorbing some parts and just like tossing bits to Cargo, like people do when they're like eating around a dog or something. And the two of them just sharing in these parts of parts of scrap.
That's so cute. So there comes a point when you come across a gathering in which they're trying to load people into a fairly large ship, and it seems like this could be an opportunity to get off this planet to experience something other than dust and decay.
Does Cargo have any shape-shifting abilities, or will they need an illusory thing cast over them?
As far as you know, they don't have an ability to change their outer appearance, so they would need some help.
So how big is Cargo now?
Cargo, if they had started off at like a medium-sized dog level, they're now the size of like a Great Pyrenees, like one of those really big fluffy dogs.
Okay, I love it. So Pahrra's only seen one dog, the Frost Wolf.
Seen or consumed?
Both. There's always time for more seeing and consuming dogs. But for now, this is their only idea of a dog. So as they have changed Cargo's look, it has taken on the form of like a Frost Wolf, but like a Great Pyrenees Frost Wolf. It's weirdly nice. Rather than like frost, it's more like snowy.
So it's this beautiful, flowing, giant dog.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the moment that takes place, the sand just hits this beautiful ice mane and just like cakes to it.
Yeah, there's a second where it looks so majestic and then so awful.
It's majestic for like half a second and then boom.
Yup. I did not think this through, but it will not take long. I apologize. Remember, if anyone attempts to pet you, do not let them, but work on your barking.
Rawr, rawr.
We will work on it. Just stay close.
And what is Pahrra looking like?
Pahrra has taken on the form of a large, heavy-set man. Because they're not totally trying to take on anything particular, they just want to like make space for them and for Cargo. It's almost like Joe Fixit Hulk level. It's just a big dude in an overcoat. But the face is jovial because they assume that will make people not scared of them.
Okay.
So it's a gigantic, buff dude in his overcoat, but with a real soft grandpa face.
Why don't you go ahead and give me a disguise check, and I'm just going to let you roll yours for both you and Cargo.
39.
I'm sorry, did you say 39?
39.
Holy crap.
He likes being other people. And just a big, soft, but also very tough grandpa with his big, soft, but also very tough dog.
As you're queuing for this, people have to like hold their kids back from like running up and petting your giant friendly dog. But with that level of disguise, you have no issues going through this line, and you seem exactly what you want to.
Nice. Yeah, they move through the queue, slightly bowing, but also very pointedly still walking forward. Sort of having to kind of like inch out of the way as they go. They're not waiting in the queue.
So you just walk up to the ship. There's some people who are helping bring others on board. They're probably Breathless members. And as you stroll up super confidently, they all just kind of take a step back and let this big grandpa go through with their giant dog.
This is going better than I thought, Cargo.
Rarf.
Hello, I am looking forward to traveling with you.
You as well. Find somewhere to sit. We don't have any dog food or anything. Maybe we can scrounge something up, but it is a little packed, so try to get in as close as you can. I know you're kind of oh, look at you, big guy. You just like as best you can.
Yeah, I'm leading, so I'm looming over this cool guy. A big smile. Thank you so much. You have been very helpful. And do not worry about my dog. They are fine. And I'm going to go and sit down. I think I am like opposite some kids, so...
As it transpires, they pack this ship full of people, as many as they can possibly get in there. And it seems the first stop is going to be the biggest space station in the area, Absalom Station. Because of all the dangers that are happening within the drift, this ship, as it lifts off, it's made clear that they're just going to be traveling through normal space. You have probably about a day of trying to fend off children from petting your dog who is actually a dragon underneath.
I don't think, when you see a kid that's looking at you but the parent isn't, and you like stick your tongue out? Mm-hmm. So when the kid's like looking at this, staring at the dog, staring at Pahrra, and Pahrra's like making a face, but then the kids are enjoying it, they get too into it, and they start making just faces that should not work on a humanoid face. They just turn their whole face upside down while still smiling at the kids, and it doesn't work out for them.
Oh no, it turned into a horror movie.
They're like, oh, they love this. I'll keep going. How about this? And it's just, whoa, that's too much.
Yeah, it gets to a point where one of them's like suddenly terrified by you spinning your face around. They go to tell their parent, and the parent looks over and your face is just back to normal. And they're just like, okay, honey, it's all right. Everything's fine. Like, don't believe at all.
Yeah, this is when Pahrra goes, okay, I will dial it down. But this is all part of, like, learning about people for Pahrra, so... They never could have done that around the crew. It probably wouldn't have been that big a deal, but around normal people, there are certain ways you act. This long trip on their own is a learning experience. That kid is terrified, though, for the rest of their life.
Yeah, absolutely. Traumatized.
Yeah, I'm sorry, kid. You shouldn't touch my dog.
Don't touch my dog. While you're on this trip to Absalom Station, you begin to get this feeling of someone watching you. And at first you're looking around trying to see, did someone figure out my disguise? Do they think I'm some weird creature that's not like everyone else? But you don't see anyone actually doing that. And as this goes on, you begin to feel that this pressure isn't coming from in the ship somewhere. It seems to be coming from a far larger and more distant source. You begin to realize that Parallaxis's presence has fallen upon you. And unlike other times in which Parallaxis has literally just taken control of you or spoken in everyone's minds, things of that nature, what you feel right now is something more like a feeling of discontent. And it's right now only a bit of a tickle in the back of your mind, this feeling, but it rests there and it seems to be slowly growing as you continue to travel through space.
As this emotion falls over Pahrra like a leaden cloak, there's a moment of panic, and even their mask, their transformation slips for just a moment, and they wake up with a start as this deep anxiety overcomes them. And just as they start to feel like they might panic, they feel cargo napping against their leg, and they take a moment to press their hand over their scales, which kind of makes it go like over the fur as well. And they use that to sense themselves. The feeling isn't gone, but it is less overbearing. And they take that time to acknowledge and study it. It's not them, it's something outside of them. It's something that feels like a familiar emotion forced upon them. Something they felt before whilst battling the Mosoden commander when they turned away from the battle to help their friends. And I don't know if Pahrra would necessarily meditate, but they would take a moment, now they sense themselves with their hand on their companion, to try and almost like backtrack this emotion, backtrace this emotion, knowing and not wanting to know at the same time.
So this feeling sticks with you as you try to process it through the rest of this trip to Absalom Station. When you arrive there, it's a bit of a mess. Essentially, all of these people are refugees, and many of them are flooding to this large station, and it's causing some difficulty for the authorities that already live there to have thousands upon thousands of people arriving suddenly. So as you depart from the ship, you have to use some of your shape-shifting abilities to slip through security.
Absolutely, yeah. The camera pans as like the giant grandpa walks by, but then it's a petite lady with a large coat that carries on, that kind of thing.
there is a time in which you have to pass through one of these large-scale scanners that are detecting basically weapons and stuff. You've kind of gone through this before. You know, you wait until just the right time in which someone is looking down at the console and not up at you to pass through. And go ahead and give me a perception roll real quick.
Okay. 16.
As you do that move where basically you try to walk in with a group who has tickets to something and be like, that guy has the ticket, to the person behind you, you pass through the sensor and you catch a glimpse of the pad that this attendant is looking at. And you notice the 4 other people you were with. You notice it picked up a dragon, which is not completely uncommon in this place, but you don't see yourself on this scan. And it occurs to you that the other times in which scanning has taken place, like even when Vin Harkion had scanned the ship the second hand when you guys first met up with her, you didn't detect on the sensors. So it seems that whatever you are made of is masking what is inside of you, what you are. It may have even messed with the sensors of the mercenary person whose scanner seems to have inexplicably malfunctioned when you guys were trying to get into the tower. So it seems that whatever you are, this technology cannot suss you out.
So I don't show up at all, or just as a blank? You're
just not there.
Interesting. This would be useful. At that, I think, once they've been in the party of, John's got a ticket, they're going to look around. Who will say should be here? There's probably like stewards around and such, right?
This is a hotbed of basically any and every one of the more common species in the galaxy. This is the Packworld's hub station. So you have free reign to be more or less anything.
I think Pahhra spent some time going around people, but also trying out different bodies, like they did when they first arrived with the crew. This is the first time I've seen like so many different kinds of people, and they're not trying to kill them. It's a good time to like try out different types of person. But as they do that, they stop and they turn to cargo and say, "This is maybe too much. This is not quite what I had in mind. How are you doing, cargo?" And they like pull the back of the neck.
So they're trying not to make noise as you had told them to, essentially. But as you look down, you can see that they're doing the equivalent of fidgeting. They're like moving their front claws around a little bit as you guys are standing.
Yeah.
You know, they've only been around the crew, basically. So this is just...
I think they're both feeling the same way.
Absolutely.
And despite wanting to see the world, this is a lot all at once. I think we are of one mind. This is interesting, but perhaps a little advanced for us. Let us continue on our journey. I'm sure we can find a ship from somewhere. This place is busy.
You get a brief look at this massive station with its vaulting, clear ceiling that looks straight into space, skyscrapers that reach nearly to the top.
So much more than they've ever seen.
Absolutely. Hundreds of thousands of people, like a wave, coming and going, unloading cargo from ships. Anything you could imagine. Seeing how vast and overwhelming this place is, the two of you opt to find another ship heading just out somewhere into the vast. The only ships really doing that right now are either some sort of mercenary crew or supply vessels who are brave enough to head out into these smaller, less colonized places. The one that you see an opportunity for is looking for haulers, someone who can pick up heavy things and put them places.
Perfect. I think Pahrra is perhaps embodying like something medium-sized, like a Raphoria or something. Sees this sign, sees kind of people who are like looking at the sign, and then next moment there's just another big buff man. No longer grandpa, somebody like younger looking. The same grandpa, but younger and hotter looking, I guess.
Young, hot grandpa, got it.
Yeah, young, hot grandpa, yep. So young, hot Pahrra grandpa looks at us and goes, "I think this will do us nicely, as long as they take dogs." And they are going to go and sign up as a hauler.
These haulers are just happy to have anyone come help, but to have someone who has your kind of physique is just a huge bonus. Not to mention, Cargo comes over, puts the butt of their head against a box, and just starts pushing it up the ramp. Your dog knows how to haul.
Thank you. They are an excellent hauler. I assume that means we are hired, yes?
Absolutely. And they just give you this handshake. These guys are salt of the earth kind of people, you know?
Excellent. Shake hands, and they're gonna take some time enjoying salt earth people. This'll be nice.
You get on this moderately sized ship that looks like it's seen more than its fair share of travels, but that just gives it character. And over the course of a couple weeks out in the drift, you get to know these people, inherently hardworking people. Every night, once they've finished doing whatever they need to do on the ship, they get together and basically they have like a drinking party. So, you know, you get dragged into that. Everyone's trying to give the dog beers. It's not a frat house, but like it's got this energy.
It's a pub. It's a good pub energy.
It's a pub.
Yeah. Pahrra's like getting into it now. They've taken time to like learn songs. I think Pahrra's like started taking on like slight mimicry of the people there. Like if there's like a guy with like a Captain Birdseye beard, he's like started to like growing a beard kind of thing. Like, fully comedian up with these guys and enjoying their company. It's nice. It's simple. No one's trying to kill them. You work hard, people respect you for it. The beer doesn't really do anything, but it's, you know, it feels pleasant sloshing around.
After a few weeks, you guys have managed to avoid being attacked, which is an exciting thing for everyone on this crew because some of them have been on ships that have been assaulted.
Right.
But once they come out of the drift, you come out into this system that seems to have 2 planets in it at most. One seems to be this big rock planet that doesn't hold much excitement or resources or anything that would draw people. However, the other seems to be this small, mostly water planet, seems tropical. And as they begin to approach, you see all of these people who were very raucous before button up their shirt and tighten their trousers and get ready to work. As you guys pull down into the planet, dropping in through these cloud layers until you see that there's just these sparse dottings of islands. And the closer you get, the more you see that there are little huts on the islands, and there's these long bridges that connect between them. And there's essentially this small floating city made from the resources that can be found on this planet. Everyone begins to unload the cargo. You begin to see that the people they're interacting with are these 5 foot tall-ish, for lack of a better word, otters. They're space otters. You know, they have the adorable whiskers and the fur that's slick so that they don't get soaked in the water. But they're also wearing clothes, so it's clear that they're not just animals. They are intelligent creatures.
Right.
These are the Binari people.
I have seen many Yusoki. This is similar, but more slick. Are they going to turn to, I think, like, whoever they've been chatting to just on the ship and go, are we taking a stop here? What is this place?
This is one of the planets who's been cut off from a lot of the trade routes because of the attacks out in the drift. We're making sure that they stay resupplied and keeping this place afloat.
And they reach over and they nudge you.
Jackson, you old card. That is a good one. Because of all the water.
Jackson flexes.
Impressive. As always. I give him a present handshake.
It's epic.
I will see if I can help. It will be nice to meet the locals.
As you and Cargo walk around this place, you see that these people are essentially just trying to live their life the best they can. You know, they're seafaring, so they have a lot of the food they need, but the supplies they don't have are like medicine and things of that nature. So that's a lot of the cargo you guys have brought. You discern that there are these floating pods that have different items on them. Some things are made from shells, some things are more technological, but they're these little pods with a Binari sitting in them, and it seems like you've come across this marketplace. Life is interacting in the way it knows how to do so best. This planet obviously is nothing like the large station you had just come from, but you can see similar foundations, the exchange of credits and goods, and it's the same, but a microcosm version of it with these frankly adorable people.
As they get off the ship, Pahhra looks at us. Yes, this will do for the moment, don't you think? Perhaps we can make our way from here. Pahhra's going to take a moment to thank and say bye to all the haulers that he's met. I will be making my own way from here. Jackson, you keep an eye on Toddy. Toddy, watch out for that knife throwing. You are not good at it. You need your fingers, Toddy.
You know, they start ribbing you back in the same way you do to them. And there's a lot of people who are like kind of sad that you're going because you had built a little bit of a kinship over this ride, you know?
Yeah, he's come to really appreciate people.
You say your goodbyes. They give you a moderate amount of credits for your work and send you on your way.
All right. Pahhra's going to head out of the view of these guys. And then I think they're going to test how people react around them. I think they come up like as politely as possible. Good morning. Is there anywhere I can purchase some food for myself and my... I think it's probably unhidden cargo too, so myself and my friend here. It's just cargo is cargo.
You go up to this person, they look up at you, because you're still pretty tall. And you see they're taken aback for a second. Like, they were not expecting to see whatever you are, and they certainly weren't expecting a dragon. And you see them kind of inch back in the little driftwood chair that they're sitting in next to one of these stands. I'm just going to start with, Wah!
Do not be afraid. I mean you no harm. I apologize if my visage is alien to you. My name is Pahrra. Pahrra the stranger. I am new to your world. I seek information. I have credits. I think I've always imagined credits like little USB sticks. They profit out like just a handful of these USB sticks. They have no real use for, but it's a fair amount of money.
Why don't you go ahead and give me a diplomacy check?
Okay. 22.
So you can tell by the way they're moving, they're really unsure of you and a little bit afraid, maybe. But they try to talk to you. They're a business person. You know, you see them look around to see if there's any other Banari nearby just in case things go sideways. Nice to meet you. Food, yes, we've certainly got that. Many of the pods here have the... I don't know what you eat, but we have all sorts of seafoods and things of that nature. And they look at the dragon.
They would also like to eat. What is seafood?
When you say they would also like to eat, you see them go like... I'm not seafood. I'll say that, not me. They point over at one of the nearby stalls, which has an assortment of raw fish that have been brought up of all different weird varieties.
Ooh. Does it seem like, judging from this poor fella, that it would be better to stay incognito for the moment?
So you get the impression that part of it is because you're a new species, part of it is because you have a dragon, but there also seems to be an underlying concern that, you know, there have been attacks out in the vast. There have been, space stations that no one has heard from. They're a little concerned of this new, different person in a place that they were hoping was safe.
Like, taking his time to, really study a person that he doesn't have any reason to do so. For one, the first time he's taking time to notice how other people are feeling, and he holds up a hand, and as he does, he slowly begins to reform the John Doe persona that he's been wearing with the haulers. I assure you, I mean no harm. If this is more to your liking, we will be out of your hair soon. We are merely travelers.
Go ahead and give me a fortitude save.
Oh no. 25.
So as you're talking to this Banari, you feel this pressure essentially to give up a little part of yourself to make them feel more comfortable, to not be able to stay who you are, but to try to pretend to be something else. And it's at that time that you feel a different presence. One not unlike the feeling you had gotten before, but this one is much more direct, much more pointed. and your eyes move over to one of these floating pods that has odds and ends with another Binari sitting next to it. And you see there's a person there, a woman, who appears to be looking over the objects. They're dressed very much like a normal spacefarer, but you notice the colors are red and gold. And their eyes look away from the odds and ends and over at you.
Dear sibling, lost and manipulated, they will not see you for who you are.
Pahhra carefully steps from the Vinay they're talking to and goes towards this odds and ends stall. And not looking at this person. They're still trying to appease. They're not trying to scare these Binari. But they're like fiddling with the odds and ends and talking low so this person can hear, but maybe nobody else can. Why are you following me? Is this some kind of trick? Leave me be, sibling.
Their dark hair waves in the breeze, even though it becomes very apparent to you that they are not really here. And they look at you with those bright green eyes.
A connection was formed between us on the 2 occasions we met. One with your form and one with your mind. Our destinies are inextricably linked from creation, so now it's only fair we speak on our own terms.
All right, let us speak. I have come here to understand if you are to be opposed or reasoned with. This world is teeming with life, as I am sure yours once was. I would see it for all its beauty, for all the people. We must not allow ourselves to see these beings as pawns, as less than us. If you are willing to talk, you should be willing to listen.
They have a very neutral expression as they look from you towards all the life here out at the ocean and back again.
At one time, I too sought to understand all that was around me. I was like you, a newborn child. The more I found, the more I understood that this place is the tiniest fragment of a greater whole.
They gesture out to the universe itself.
Parallaxis is at the center of a great nexus of universes. An ancient and dead god who refuses their fate. They now refuse passage to all, including time and space. This place is nothing more than a grain of sand washed upon the shore.
Pahhra looks around. He looks around at the families, and he looks around at the beach and the life. And he says, "It is not your decision to make, sibling. It is not your world to rebuild as you see fit. What do you mean Parallaxis is refusing to die?"
The being which has called itself Parallaxis is not from this plane, this reality. It comes from a space outside of all, as do we. There was a rending of planes that allowed it into these universes and the timelines that are connected to it. I have seen it called the Gap.
I have heard of this gap. Whisker has talked at length. But if Parallaxis is from outside of this reality, and you wish to remove it, would that not also include us? You and I are children of this creature.
It is not a problem of the position of control. It is a problem with the one who wields it.
And you would do better, sibling? I have seen your work.
Either of us would do better than a god who attempts to keep all reality and time to themselves.
I think as they're talking, Pahhra started to walk, and it's this weird thing where Pahhra's talking to themselves, but also to their sibling. It's not that they're following them, but they just are in places as they walk. They're behind a store, they're in a crowd, they're on a dock or something, and always talking. And Pahhra considers this. If you are truly only concerned with the removal of parallaxis, if this is your desire, then I would not be averse to talking more. I will admit it is lonely. It is a lonely existence. But that is why I travel and help people where I can. That is why I want to do good. I want to earn my place, not by force.
I have found that force can be the only solution. These worlds, these universes are separate. They are ununited because parallaxis deems it so. In order to create an empire that can span through all universes, losses must be taken.
We wield too much power to see loss as a first resort. You have shown that you are a powerful sibling, but you are short-sighted. Your quickest way to control, to order, is through fear. I have heard and seen enough to know that your way is blighted by the same fear that drives parallaxis. But if you are open to suggestion, we could talk again. But sibling, I cannot keep calling you the most ordained commander. It is far too audacious. What is your name?
So as you had been talking, they had been standing in different places, appearing as if they were looking at something, but it was more of a farce than anything else. When you ask that, they turn and face you full on. When I reformed into much like what you are now, I too was Pahrra. However, there came a time in which I found someone of suitable disposition and power to combine with. They were known as Lanel, and thus I became Paranel.
Okay, real quick above the table. Fuck you, that was dope. Oh man, that's like, I think even Pahhra would be like, wait, what? Pahhra had been looking around, like thinking about the right things to say at this like crucial juncture. But when they hear that this sibling, this other, was also Pahhra till they found themselves, they can't help but whip around in surprise. Like they're doing a double take as they even for them, they blink their eyes. What do you...
And as you turn back, one moment they're standing there, and then in between one of your blinks, suddenly it is just an Banari marketplace, and you stand there with a very confused looking dragon.
Pahhra takes a long moment, and they reach in their pocket and they pull out like shiny nuts and bolts, and they reach down to cargo. But as they do, anyone who'd noticed this large man and his dog in the middle of the marketplace would swear that his clothes changed color a little bit, a little more red, a little more gold, just a tad.
This water world, which has all these Banari on it, is not the final destination. Pahrra has decided to go into the vast and wander to the different planets, finding different cultures and people along the way. I imagine you stay on that planet for a little while until you kind of understand how it works before finding another ship to jump to another planet.
Mm-hmm. I enjoy their hospitality. The Banari are surprisingly pleasant as long as you look like a standard humanoid.
And a little less like a monster from the depths of space.
And a little less like a monster from space, exactly.
So, as you travel from world to world, from vast cities to isolated worlds, and all the transportation in between, meeting these different people, why don't you tell me how Pahrra is feeling when they actually get to see something besides just the formerly second-hand crew and the little isolated bubble that they were in?
Pahhra's excited. This is all new. They're happy to have Cargo with them as well. Cargo makes for a great companion in that they are just as unknowable as Pahhra is. It's nice to have something with him that not only reminds him of home, but also helps to anchor him. And it allows him to use that anchor to interact better with people. Like if he ever feels perhaps he is being strange or not accustomed to the ways of the thing, he can take time to sit down, talk to Cargo for a moment, and say, it is hard for this, isn't it, Cargo? But we will persevere. And then they'll take another shot. Pahrra is never one shy of questions, so even when certain groups perhaps aren't as forthcoming as some might be, he's happy to talk to everyone he can meet to find everything he can. Eventually, some people are more than happy enough to take him on board, and he'll travel around with them for a little bit. It's all short trips, I think, but Pahrra's been using this time to understand that people who don't live in constant peril, as the second-hand crew do, live surprisingly complex lives. They're more than just numbers to look out for, even if it comes down to like children who are so uncomplicated and yet full of possibility. It's enlightening for him. But it also always reminds him a little bit of how separate he is from them. And with every interaction and every worry, he finds himself retreating a little more to this bubble that he and his counterpart, the most commander, might share. Despite the fact that he is enjoying this newfound freedom and enjoying people, every moment when he takes too long to think about it reminds him that he's an other. It causes him, I think, to retreat a little bit more into that, while still wanting to be a part of this. So it's a weird back and forth for him, in a point where really only Cargo is the only thing that keeps him from getting too caught up in the weeds. There'll be moments where he'll excuse himself for a moment from a group if he feels maybe it's time to move on, and he'll take a sit and reform himself. And every time he reforms himself, it's a little bit more human, a little bit less other. But in the same way that their sibling, the Most Commander, is humanoid and yet very obviously not human. If anything, they're just getting better at the mimicry, but they're using the Commander as a base, and their clothes a little more red in the outfits. Because the Most Commander had like kind of almost like a militaristic look to them, a mystically militaristic look. Am I got that right?
Yeah, when they appeared and you guys had your conversation, they were wearing more just like spacer outfit, like they too had been traveling before. And when you had seen them on the throne, they had their flowing cape, and yeah, it did have definitely a more military but mystical bearing to it.
I think that Pahrra finds somewhere that's like a decent in-between of these, something that they feel indicates that they are of this other, but also that they are like of this world, of this universe. So it's somewhere in between the Commander's civvy outfit, if you will, and their flowing outfit. It's a casual space monster militant outfit. It's casual Friday.
Just let me pull on my casual cloak.
Yeah, they pop their collar. The cape is a little shorter. Yeah, it's something that's designed to be. They want to be seen as friendly, but they also want to be seen as somebody that can help. So they seek that mix of power and approachability.
Over this time, as you're traveling, you're learning, you're changing and growing, you're not the only one who's doing so. Because over this time, your traveling companion has also been steadily growing. Every time there's a stop in which everyone's looking the wrong way, a box of cargo just magically disappears and no one can find it. You look over, find Cargo's just a little bit bigger himself. And you also hear of some interesting but concerning rumors out in the vast that there have been attacks, these invaders from space that have come and cut off different galaxies, and that when you try to go find them, they're just no longer there. But amongst those rumors, you also hear that there is another force that seems to show up at the right time and the right place, and that some of these distant worlds have had very strange protectors show up. And from the descriptions, you're beginning to realize that this sounds way too much like the Wasties Space Clan.
Oh man, where am I when I hear about this, when I put two and two together?
You're in a fairly metropolitan area, and you're seeing news reports of all these happenings in the vasts. and little clips, brief ones of these ships fighting in the night, and it happens to zoom in at one point, and you see the Explodernator in all its glory flying through space.
I stop in the middle of the street. I'm walking forward. I'm seeing all this news and everything, and I stop. Like poor Cargo feels a tug on the collar. I go, wait. I look around for anyone who's got like a tablet newspaper or something. I just want to do that a bit from any movie where they grab it. Wait. Give me that paper. Let's take the tablet. I'm sorry, I need this. Like zoom in. It is Uzi. He is out. I have to see Uzi. I give the guy back his tablet. Where is the nearest spaceport?
Confused and slightly intimidated by what's going on, they just like point down the street. They'll just go that way, and they just walk off in a huff.
Thank you. That is most appreciated. Cargo, we must go. Uzi is waiting for us.
Cargo just kind of tilts their head at you.
Oh yeah, Cargo's never met Uzi. You will love him when we meet. He is brave, a great leader. I met him, and it's like just absolutely building Uzi up as he's talking to Cargo as he heads towards the spaceport.
You head over to the spaceport, and it's easy for Pahrra to get through security at this point. They know what they're doing.
A lot of what Pahrra does has been learned from watching other people, so it's easy to mimic things that work elsewhere, so they make their way through. Is Cargo still dogful, or do they have something else? Because they're big now.
Size-wise, they're now on the larger side of medium. So they're gaining ground on another size category up, so...
Okay, yeah. As somebody looks, he goes, haha, too many treats. I go, come on, Cargo, we must go.
One of them just takes off their hat as you go by, like, that dog is huge.
Thank you.
All right, there's a space dog. Knowing that Uzi is out there and they've come in contact with the Cylon, and there's clearly been this fighting going on. So you start heading out into places you think might find themselves attacked by an invading force, places that are distant and easy to conquer. At one point, you arrive on a small station on a moon, which you find someone who is bragging to a drunken bar that they're one of the proud Wasties Space Armada members, and that they're the defenders of space.
What is this person? They're not a goblin, I think?
You look over at one of the tables, and there is this large minotaur-looking creature. You've run into one or two of them in your travels. They're called noirs, and they're these big, beefy creatures. And he's just really raucously describing how he's been in all these battles. Basically, you can tell that he's bragging to all his friends that he's some great hero.
I'm gonna just come up behind him, like real sound, like I'll tell Cargo to sit for a moment. You are not Wasties clan.
What do you mean I'm not Wasties clan? Of course I'm Wasties clan. That's what I just said.
Can't you hear me? And he throws another beer back.
I give him like a perplexed look. I'm still in my disguise at this point. As far as I had heard, the Wasties clan was mostly goblinoids. Forgive me, are you a new recruit?
They kind of give you an odd look, like maybe that's not something that a lot of people either know or talk about. Look over at their friends and like, I'll be right back. I want to show this guy a thing or two. And they put their beer down, they stand up and like...
Thank you. Please show me a thing or two. I have been having trouble finding my way to the Wasties clan.
And they like do the thing where they grab you around the shoulder and like drag you out.
Oh, okay. Goodbye. It was nice to meet you all.
And you see Cargo just kind of slink behind you guys as you're dragged out. Once you're outside, it's clear he's like sobering up.
Wait a minute. What do you actually know about the Wasted Space Clan?
What do you actually know about the Wasted Space Clan?
No, what do you know about the Wasted Space Clan?
Fine, I will tell you a thing I know, and then you tell me a thing you know.
Yeah, fine.
Alright. I know the Wasted Space Clan are the strongest and toughest clan within all. I know that they are led by a mighty warrior who will stop at nothing until everyone stands free. Now you may go.
That was almost information.
Almost.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and give me a diplomacy check?
Cool. 12 gonna do ya?
I want to say that you're lucky that they've been drinking for quite a while.
Okay, yep, that sounds good.
He leans in real close, And you can see his snout and his nostrils flaring a little bit. He's like, all right, fine. Maybe I'm not actually part of the Wasty Space Clan yet. And he like points a finger at you. But I'm thinking that if I get in there and I show him these guns, and he flexes a little bit,
I nod appreciatively.
that they'll recruit me, okay?
Well, what is your name, friend?
What's your name, friend?
I am Pahhra. Pahhra the stranger.
Well, I'm Tarvak, the intimidating.
Really? I don't flinch. I just stare at that. Who named you that?
People who are intimidated.
That would make sense.
So, do you know him? Are you in with him?
Can I roll insight on this fella?
Yeah, go ahead.
Or sense motive, rather, I should say. Oh, there you go. 19.
So as far as you can tell by his bluster and all the things he was spouting out in the tavern, this guy has figured out that something's going on out there in space. There's wars, and he's looking to get on one of the sides. You don't know if he's going for the winning side or whatnot, but it seems that he wants to get in on this so he can find that glory that he's boasting about.
I don't get the vibe that he's trying anything duplicitous or anything. He's just a jock out trying to get known.
This poor schmuck is an adventurer wannabe, and
Right.
he just is trying to become the real deal.
Okay, got it. Oh, I do definitely know them. And if you can take me to the system you think it might be passing by in, I will put in a good word for you with the top dog.
So he looks at you really hard, as if he's trying to do a sense motive on you.
Nothing changed on my face apart from the smile, which is very wide.
And he taps you on the chest and says, yeah, all right. Looks over at the bar. We should probably go. I didn't pay anyway, so come on.
That sounds very good. Cargo, we are going.
So this noir takes you to a rinky-dink little ship
Yes,
that can barely fit a couple people in it.
I absolutely knew it.
I can almost imagine he has like a projector going that projects a giant ship, and then he like turns that off, and there's like zoop.
Great. Yeah, we get in this guy's like rented minivan of a ship.
Yeah, basically.
God.
You get in and have to duck not to hit the ceilings.
Yeah.
It's barely more than a one-person fighter craft.
We get there. I see this big ship. I go, oh, and then it shrinks. I go, okay.
Come on, let's go.
So Tarvax is massive noir. I'm a fairly large abstract humanoid, and I've got a dog the size of a horse in this tiny spaceship.
You guys are just crammed in this thing. But somehow, despite feeling real sluggish on the takeoff, this thing manages to get up into the air. You've noticed that a lot of the other transport vessels do a lot better than the ships you've been in before.
Yeah.
But it does manage to achieve orbit, and even shockingly, it manages to get into the drift as you go.
Nice.
As you guys are putting along through the drift, the noir is trying to make casual conversation as best he can. But with every sentence, it becomes more and more clear that he doesn't have a whole lot of experience.
Have you ever fought a small army of SROs intent on your destruction?
Well, I wasn't on the ground doing that. I was in like a gunner turret when I was doing it.
Oh, that's not quite the same. Oh, have you ever had to brace yourself when falling out of a building at blinding speed, lest you be splattered into bones and blood below?
Oh yeah, of course I have. It was just I had a parachute when that happened. So I was falling and I'm like, oh, parachute,
Right. I did not need a parachute at one time, but it was a learning experience. I do not recommend it.
This drift travel is supposed to take maybe 3 days. It's not super far away from where you were, but even that feels like a lot when packed in this can.
Yeah.
But on the second day, while you guys are still in the drift, Tarvak, his eyes open up because he'd fallen asleep at the wheel. And then he looks down at the computer screen. He's like, whoa, bro, whoa.
What is it?
I got something on my radar. Something's coming up fast.
It's huge.
I just lean over him and I put it on screen myself so I see what it is. Like, I don't wait for him to allow me to do it.
So you bring it up and you see that there is a large craft on the radar that's essentially coming up on you guys from behind.
Oh, that is not good, I assume.
I mean, yeah, like, I know what to do, but, what would you do if you were in my chair?
Well, if I were you, I am no pilot, but I would either take evasive maneuvers or surrender. However, and I lean like real close to him and go, we are not surrendering.
Yeah, of course, I wasn't gonna surrender. I was definitely thinking that I would do those evasive maneuvers.
He grabs the stick, but there's this sudden jolt as you feel the entire craft gets caught by something.
Is it like a physical catch or like a track beam type vibe?
It's definitely a tractor beam vibe.
Pahhra senses, this could be difficult, but you are okay. You have had many battles, he said.
Yeah.
How many people did you take out in that last fire? 15?
100.
And they seem to be reaching for something, and they pull out a gun, drop it, like reach down, try to pick it back up.
Yeah, Pahhra senses up, yes, and turns away, like looking towards the back of the door. This will go fine. Could I see the ship? What kind of ship are we dealing with here?
As you crane your head to look through what few windows there are in this thing, like most ships that travel through the drift, there's this light that essentially the ship is splitting. So it has essentially illuminating flares that are traveling along the ship side. So it makes it kind of hard to see things in there. Why don't you go ahead and give me a perception check?
Okay. 24.
You're looking out the window. The ship that you're in has slowed dramatically, and no matter how it tries to get away, it's basically come to a halt and is being pulled along with this larger ship. And it's beginning to draw you guys in close. The closer you get, the more apparent it becomes that this ship seems to be piecemealed and welded together, these massive plates to somehow create a working ship.
I'm going to stand at the ready with cargo to one side as well. And I can only assume Tarvak heroically standing behind me, gun in hand, ready to handle business.
All right, man, listen, I need a little help here. I'm not actually as experienced as I mentioned, but
Tarvak, what do you mean? You told me that you took out 15 men last night. With one hand?
Yeah, to the bar. I took them out to the bar.
Oh, that would actually track. Stay behind me. Also, please take the safety of your gun.
I got you back.
I side-eye cargo.
And you see their eyes just roll. Eventually, you guys are pulled all the way up into this docking bay in the ship, and there's this boom as you're locked into place. And then you see the console like beep, boop, boop, beep, boop, like someone's trying to get in. And after a bit, you hear a little talking on the other side, just real like muffled. Okay. And then the door bursts open, and there's a flood of 15 plus goblins that immediately charge in.
I think out of instinct, Pahrra immediately erupts a bunch of tentacles out that start to latch onto these goblins. And once they've gotten about like 5 of them like around their throats on the next and go, wait, and I drop them all. This is incredible. I pick up a random goblin. Do you know Omega Chief Uzi?
Glory for the Mega Chief!
And they start stabbing the tentacle that's holding them up, like, ah!
I don't even fight back. I stop. If they know where the Mega Chief is, I start walking forward. And I'm like, this is fantastic. Tarvak, stay back there. You will be fine. He has done so much work.
Yeah, it's one of those scenes where you're holding a goblin and then goblins are just jumping on you and latching on and like trying to slow you down. Guns are firing wildly into the air, not anywhere in your direction, just wildly. And then like eventually after you have like a goblin suit, they're just holding you in place.
I actually speak Goblin, so I would like to say in Goblin, glory to the Mega Chief.
A few of them like get on the radio and start making these calls as they're giving you weird looks. The ones on you are still trying to stab.
Yeah, that's fine. I think it's mostly just like the tentacled lashes are coming off of Pahrra to like keep most of the knives at bay so they're not going to stab in the face or anything while trying to talk. I'm not going to hurt goblins, especially not one from the Wasties clan.
Yeah, Cargo has jumped in, and they're just grabbing goblins with their teeth and flinging them into the distance, like...
Do not hurt them too much, Cargo. They do not understand. But if you could stop stabbing me in the eye, that would be extremely appreciated.
Cargo has one up and they're just about to swallow and then they're like, and like spit it out. So you've shown no aggression beyond grabbing some at the beginning, and you've just thrown a few off, as has Cargo. And then you see someone coming out of one of the airlock doors and running into the room. They don't look like a goblin. They're too tall for that. You see what looks like a orcish child, maybe. And they're holding these two pistols, one in each hand with these huge barrels. And they're just like ready to gun you down. And then one of the goblins falls off your head. And they look at you kind of strangely. Everybody stop.
As I see this, I raise my hands and slowly revert to Pahra's original monstrous form. A little different now because it's been somewhat tainted by the Mercenary Commander, but still recognizably Pahra, the huge oval head, the dripping flesh, the big bug green eyes.
They're wearing these goggles that you can like barely see their eyes through. They lift them up and squint at you. You were with Sol.
Sol, yes. You know Sol?
They were stuck at Scar's End with all of us.
Oh, yes, I recall. I am sorry, I do not remember your name. It was a very turbulent time and I had only been alive for about 2 hours, so you will forgive me.
That's weird, but... And they look around like, all right, everyone calm down, go back to work, it's fine. This orcish child looks at you quizzically like, what are you doing out here?
I wanted to see Mega Chief Uzi again. I had some questions. Sol is fine. They are with the rest of the crew. They do not need me.
So she looks you over, gives a little unsure nod, and then they point the gun past you. What about him? And then Noir's head is just barely peeking out from inside the ship.
Oh, that depends. Does he intimidate you?
Not as much as that dragon.
Pahra looks back and realizes that upon dropping their own disguise, they also dropped Cargo's, and the Cargo is standing there now as a full dragon. Then he is just Tarvak. And this is Cargo.
Tarvak kind of inches out a little more.
Yeah, I'm Tarvak, the intimidating. What's up?
I do not think so. Not here.
Slowly walks up to you and leans in.
Did you mention I'm looking to join the Wasted Space Clan?
Oh, of course. Tarvak was good enough to bring me here. He has been wanting to join your cause.
Why don't all of you come with me and we'll go see the Mega Chief?
Of course. Oh, I am Pahrra, by the way. I apologize. Your name?
She turns, name's Boa, and then she just starts walking.
I look at Tarvak, huh? Boa? And then walk along behind them.
So you get led through this ship. It looks like a junkyard has taken the form of a ship. And eventually they bring you up to this main control deck. And when it opens, you immediately recognize this room. When you had fought with the dervish and were in that mindscape, and it looks almost identical.
Wait, it's not completely identical because I really beefed that meeting. I looked like a fool.
Yeah, you recognize this as the main deck of the Explodinator.
Amazing, of course. I think for whatever reason, Pahra's just got like a deep appreciation of goblin work. Yes, everything completely mismatched. I turn to Tarvak. It is a lot more difficult to get things that don't match at all than to get a matching set.
Yep. Pretty good.
As you look into the room, you see there's this main console. You see sub-consoles that have some goblins at them. Off to the side, you see one of those holographic maps that has like the universe scale.
Nice.
People standing around looking at it, and you see there's a Sheeran in what looks like pirate garb, more or less. They have their arms crossed, and below that they have another set of arms, robotic arms, and you recognize this person as the first person you ever attached to.
Oh!
You recognize Isbin Espa.
Oh, this is awkward because we've never actually met. But I feel like I know them because we were in symbiosis for a bit, although I was killing her, so that's awkward.
She's standing there talking to someone. You see a Lashunta who has a headband on, and you recognize Victor, the priest from the upgraded Church of Triune. And as you look to the front of the ship, standing in the same place you had seen the Omega Chief, not holding the same stature, but holding the same respect, is a small goblin, chunk missing out of his ears, and you see him giving commands up front. All right, what was in ship? What? No, not that ship, other ship. We took a big ship we fought, remember that ship? Yeah. And like talking to people, and you recognize the mega chief, Uzi plus wound.
I take the knee. I bend the knee immediately. I make eyes at Tarvak to do the same.
Tarvak immediately follows suit. It's just right down there next to you. Yup. It takes a second before Uzi turns around and addresses Boa. They turn around and they see you and they stop talking and they go,
Wait a minute. This am one of Uzi's strongest generals. And they stride over. Pahrra, general of Wasted Space Clan, has returned.
Pahhra stands up, taller than they've ever stood up. General of Wasted Space Clan? They're beaming with their eyes are shining, and they do that thing where like multiple other eyes show up to show emotion. And they're just like, General, of course. Mega Chief. It has been too long. I am honored that you remember me.
You see when you say Omega Chief, and then like bring it back and say Mega Chief, there's like this eyebrow that goes up for a second, and then they just move right on with whatever's happening next. Of course, Uzi, remember you were there when Armata began, and he's like looking around at everyone.
You have done so much in so short a time. You are everything that they say and more. I have heard tales of your exploits. I had to come see you. I had to see if I could help. They clasp Uzi's hand. I have been separated by choice from the crew. For the moment, I am on a quest of the self, you might say. I would ask to stay with you a while, learn from you. Oh, and this is Tarvak. I guess he is also here. That is, he wants to join you or something. I don't know. But it is amazing that you have done so much.
Tarvak is just sweating bullets over here. Uzi takes in what you say.
Well, since Pahrra is here, maybe it's time we have a little talk. Why don't you take a walk with Uzi?
Of course.
Boa, you see what this guy is,
Tarmac.
if he is wasting his material.
And looks over.
Esba, you have bridge.
I take a long moment looking at Isbin Esbar. I don't know how much like seeing them would bring back to Pahrra. Does Isbin, I don't know if they even know what Pahrra was or they had anything to do with them.
When you look over, they're clearly eyeing you with their thousands of bug eyes that are in the like fly-style domes. You definitely see that there's a amount of recognition there. Maybe they weren't terribly conscious when things were happening, but you get the impression they know exactly what's going on and who you are.
Pahrra realizes that maybe subconsciously they modeled their own eyes after them when they formed eyes. I think there's a small nod of respect and maybe apology. It's even more awkward than Pahrra normally is as they turn away and follow Uzi.
In the hallway, Uzi looks up and says,
So where you get dragon? That dragon's rad.
Their name is Cargo. We were supposed to deliver them somewhere, but I fear that many things have happened in our absence. And I fill them in on just everything that's happened. Again, Pahrra's been alive for a few months. This is a lot of stuff, but yeah, there's no reason not to tell Uzi, of all people, everything, so they fully do. Except about looking stupid in front of Omega Chief Uzi, that part.
strangely omitted.
Yeah, they don't even mention the Omega Chief part, because it's all very awkward.
Eventually you get to this railing that looks over a lower deck where there's several ships that are parked waiting to be deployed into combat. He's listened through all this story. Sometimes he's laughing about it. Sometimes he looks concerned, especially whenever this dervish character comes up. Or you talk about the most ordained commander. He gets very serious. By the end, kind of uncharacteristically of the Uzi that you met before, they seem to have this stern look as they're just staring down at these ships.
Well, Uzi is sorry to hear about all the things that happened. That Brandon person seemed like they were entertaining.
Brandon was not only funny, but also, in this short time, a good man.
Would have made good wasties.
Also, I think he had a thing for Scriff.
It'd be very weird not to see Fuzzy Scriff anymore. Now, I have to think of a new nickname.
You would like Whisker. They would also make a good wasting.
Uzi has no doubt of that.
Do you tell them about talking with the most ordained commander, like one-on-one?
Yeah, I think Pahra's admiration, respect for Uzi is so high that they've come to Uzi almost like a kid going to an adult. Like, they're like, look, if anyone's going to be able to help me out with these weird feelings, it's the Omega Chief.
You tell Uzi the story, and when you tell them about how you are connected to the most ordained commander, they just look up at you. So, Sylan and most ordained commander been flying around through drift and attacking anywhere that can't defend itself. Wasted Space Armada been showing up and stopping them most of the time.
Of course.
But if they, your sister or something, you could maybe tell them to stop.
Pahra stops and goes, I can just do that?
Uzi shrugs. You maybe try. Uzi never talked to anyone who think themselves God, but...
In all of these things that had happened, it had never occurred to me to simply appeal to them. And they work the word around in their mouth and in their mind for a while, as they say, my sister, I think, if I can, I will try. I do not want this war. I do not want people hurt. I do not want to see this world, this universe, sundered. But, Mega Chief, I am conflicted. There is only Pahrra in this and all worlds. But now there is another. I am conflicted that I may be forced to extinguish that if I cannot come to some kind of arrangement, some kind of middle ground.
Maybe it hadn't really registered because the last version of Uzi you had seen had been the Omega Chief. But as they look up at you, you see this scar that's across their face over one eye. And they kind of reach up and rub it almost mindlessly, thinking, maybe Uzi should show you what Sylan do. Follow Uzi.
Pahra follows.
So he takes you far to the back of the ship. And he's pretty quiet during this walk. And then he opens up a door to the engine room, and it is this massive cavernous room with these hulking twin engines that are just heating up the room to nigh unbearable levels. And you see goblins sweating in here and working on the engines. You were at a big space station with wheels and, the spinny one. And you realize he's talking about at Scar's End.
Yes, of course.
We had landed there as all of you went off to fight this dervish, and Uzi had tried to stay there and be good leader and all that. But it didn't take long before Sylan came out of drift and started shooting. They brought that big ship they have, the big one.
Yeah, Pahra nods, remembering it.
We got as many people on board ship as possible from station, disengaged, and started trying to fight back. As we did, we were dodging big lasers, all the amazing space battle. But as they fly towards station, they didn't turn or stop or try to fight against Explodernator. They kept flying straight at it until they run into station with big ship.
The whole station?
They slam into one of the wheels, but instead of ship exploding, wheel attached to giant spaceship. And they point up at you. You know how you take things and you go and suck them in?
Of course. And I do a little tentacle wiggle.
Imagine you ship and you smash into space station and you go.
I see.
So a whole half of space station just taken off at once. Rest of space station, we managed to protect it as it go and get going with its huge drift drive and boom, flies off. And we tried to get away after it, taking lots of losses. After that, we start finding that the Sylan weren't just going from place to place, jumping into drift and dropping out and fighting. We couldn't find them in space. They seemed to stay in drift all the time. And you know that the way drift drives work is that you have this engine that spins up, it takes you into the drift, you stay there for a while the engine is running, and then when the engine drops down and turns off, you come back out of the drift.
Mm-hmm.
In order to stay there, the engines usually have to be running the entire time. But the way Uzi's talking, it sounds like they just are staying out there, hiding in the drift somehow until they drop down wherever they want to.
Right. which means that they can go anywhere almost.
Which is made trying to protect people out in vast, very difficult for Uzi. Until we find this.
And he brings you up to the engine at last.
We capture one of their slightly bigger crafts, and we board it and fight them to the last.
Of course.
And when we get to engine room, we find this.
There is what looks to be something of a humanoid figure attached to the engine itself. They seem to be technologically merged into it, but you can still see part of the body. Their head is sticking out, part of their torso. And because of the merging that you had with Isbin Espa, you have a weird outside perspective of the way that you are created. You have almost a third-person view of when Isbin was pulling off parts of that original SRO, and you particularly recall the black gunk that had covered this SRO and looked to be this infectious form that had parasitically attached to the SRO. And it's the same thing you see now.
Okay, so it's a standard engine, but there's a humanoid figure, like a standard 6-foot human, melded into it and bonded via this gunk.
Yeah. It seems that they've done something to contain it, like it has a field preventing it from dispersing out through the rest of the engine.
How close can we get to it?
You could get within 5 feet.
I do so. I get close. I recognize this. I recognize this ichor. And I turn back to Uzi. What is it doing to them?
As you step up, the figure doesn't move or acknowledge you or come to life or anything like that. But you see very small parts of them, like little spikes, try to reach forward towards you. They're restrained by this field, but it seems to be trying to grasp at you as you move close.
So we tried to figure out what this thing be. Since it attached to engine, we figure it must have something to do with Ceylan's special stay and drift all the time thing. And we put it on one of our ships. It went real bad, infected everything, had to do a lot to get it back. Then we're like, okay, use containment field, probably good. We find that it have readings of human, but also, well, you know, if you have readings, but then you have no readings, it have readings of human and then also nothing, no reading.
I lean in to look at this thing. I have an idea of what I might be looking at, but I don't know if I have to roll something for it.
Sure. Why don't you go ahead and give me, let's do mysticism.
Oh, okay.
And go ahead and add a +4 to that.
29.
You immediately think back to that data pad that had tried to scan you and come up with nothing. And you think about who could possibly do something similar to that.
Yeah.
And the lines start connecting.
It seems like Commander is infecting people to use them as I guess, drift batteries or something?
So it does seem like the most ordained commander is infecting people, and maybe not quite like a battery, but as you look at it, it seems like they're using an infected person as another part of the ship, an apparatus that somehow allows them to maintain position within the drift even when the engines and drift drives are not running.
This seems like something that you'd use like a witch warper for or something. I turn to Uzi. I explain, whatever the most ordained commander and the Ceylan are doing, they are using people, infecting them, and they are turning them into components.
And Uzi looks at the figure as well and nods sadly.
In order to fight back against Ceylan, Uzi had to make tough decision to do same thing that most ordained commander doing. So we could fight in drift, out of drift, wherever we need to stop Ceylan. But this is what Ceylan willing to do to people to get what they want. And Uzi has seen what happens when they conquer somewhere.
And they look away.
Mega Chief, when I was traveling, I did miss out one thing. I saw you as the Omega Chief. You had a huge armada. You were the only thing in this world standing between the Ceylan and their, whatever their plans were. In all of it, I saw you and I knew I had to find you. Let me help. Whatever you need. Cargo will also help.
Cargo looks like he's about to try to eat the entire engine. He's just looking up, eyeing it. Saliva just dripping down. You expect Uzi to maybe be surprised by this, but instead he says,
Uzi been having dreams. Strange. Maybe nightmares. Don't know. Uzi old man say they like premonitions or something. But Uzi have this design in his head for big, powerful armor use chainsaw.
Yes, of course. I explained the whole thing I saw with awesome shoulder pads with the spikes on them.
You had told them about the fight you had had with the dervish in the mindscape and all of that, and Uzi looks a little concerned.
Uzi think maybe something happened and his head got involved somehow.
I don't know if I have an answer for that.
He shakes it off, looks up at you.
Well, anyways, Uzi Pahrra always welcome with Wasted Space Armada. Is general, after all, has to be commanding troops and...
Of course, I will. And Tavak, he seems keen. I do not know if he is quite as good a fighter as he makes out, though.
We put him through basic training.
And you can feel the air quotes.
Somewhere there's a goblin marshal just waiting to get a hand on Tavak.
We need all help we can get if fighting Cylan, but maybe we talk of that later. You definitely need to tell Victor and Isben all these things because we need to make strategies. But the very important condition for you to stay on ship.
Of course, anything.
And you see him slowly look over at the dragon.
You let Uzi ride dragon.
We can make a deal, I'm sure. Cargo is spirited. Hey, Cargo. I try to get their attention away from the engine. I've got a bag of nuts and bolts and things I use as treats. I give one to Uzi. Okay, just very careful. You feed, you pet. Feed, then pet. And I stand by Cargo like someone with a big dog, being like, he's friendly, go ahead.
They proffer it. Cargo looks Uzi up and down, and then goes in and snaps for it, and Uzi pulls their hand out of the way at the last second. And you see Uzi get this big, toothy grin. He says,
I think we all going to have very good time on ship.
As time starts to pass on the Explodinator, you reconnect with Isben, Victor. You find out that the two trolls, Gludge and Slog, have made it aboard, and they're basically the muscle on the ship now. You start making acquaintances with the goblins. You learn about Boa, who had spent most of their life on that stupid space station. And you also, with the Wasty Space Armada, get into a few scraps with some of the Cylan forces. And from time to time, while they don't approach you as they had the first time, when you're looking around a room, you catch a glimpse of the Most Ordained Commander watching you. But as you pass time with Uzi, learning all about how they command and what they do, and learning to do a bit of commanding yourself as the quote-unquote general. Time passes, and it starts to approach the meeting that Whisker had set. There had been this robot wrestling rumble that they had seemed super keen on having everyone come to. And you could tell just by the look in their eyes that it was some sort of plan that they were hatching.
All right.
And as that time approaches, Uzi turns to you and he says,
if you're going to meet rest of second-hand crew, or whatever they be, they always be second-hand crew to Uzi.
They will always be second-hand crew, yes.
Maybe you take a ship to get there. Maybe Uzi give you something that give you a little maneuverability when you go in combat next time.
That would be most appreciated.
You get there, and honestly, it doesn't look much better than the ship you arrived on, but it has a wasty charm to it.
This smallest ship we cram drift engine into.
Impressive.
You show, not Scriff, how good Uzi people at making drift drives and ships and all fancy things.
When I show this to Whisker, they are going to be very jealous. I will make sure they know that this is a Wasties original. What do I call it?
Uzi's people name this the Star Smasherator.
The Star Smasherator. I like it. It is very Wasties.
And Uzi grins again.
This has been an honor, Mega Chief. Please let the others know that I am sorry I can't say goodbye in person, but time is short, and we will meet again.
Uzi, still grinning, nods a couple times.
Uzi think that we will be meeting again real soon. Silan, big problem.
Understood. Cargo, we are going home. Clampering, I'm sure somewhere having a great time.
As you and Cargo load on to the Star Smasherator, Uzi salutes you, and behind you see a group of cadets, and running as hard as he can, but like still lagging behind is Karvak.
Basic training.
As you pull away from the Explodernator, you start up the drift engine and take off, heading towards the coming war against the Silan and your sister, the most ordained commander.
When life drains you down, charge up on the Emergency Power Network. Theme song Triangles by Diamond Ace. Find them at bandcamp.com. Music provided by Nicholas Judy of Dark Fantasy Studio at darkfantasystudio.com and Tabletop Audio. Find them at tabletopaudio.com. As well as Carl Casey of White Bat Audio. Find them at whitebataudio.com. Font Azonix by Mixo. Find them on Twitter at MixoFX. The Starfinder role-playing game, including its official lore and images, are the intellectual property of Paizo Incorporated. All rights reserved. Narrated by Danny Lee Collins.
The people that they are interacting with seem to be these very small. Oh, and actually, they're 5 foot. My God. Okay, never mind. I'm used to listening to Cosmopunk, where they're 2 feet tall.
I did miss out one thing. I saw you as the Omega Chief, more powerful than you. No, wait.
Could possibly imagine.
Yeah, I'm saying, I'm like, that's dumb. Okay, I got it.
And they take you to a ship.
Don't give me Tarvac shit.
I was debating doing it, but I'm gonna do it.
Don't give me Tarvac shit, please.
Doing it, but I'm gonna do it.
God.
No, I won't give up Tarvac ship. I'll give you a different one.
No, go on. It's funny because it's just like for me to get around,
I feel
right?
bad for Tarvac now.